Brand on Tour with Angelika Tauber and Katrin Hansel, the podcast where personal branding meets sports.
Right? A business idea. This could be big. It's going to be awesome. And Claude just said, no, this is stupid. You have 3 other things going on right now. Finish that. I'm not going to help you. Bye. And I learned this from Tim Ferriss. Reach out not for the number 1, reach out for number 3 or 4. A couple of years ago, you cannot get number 1. There's like, you don't look stupid. The person who has no idea looks stupid, yeah? Who doesn't try and thinks they know. Say, I cannot do it. The guys are too strong. I was like, yeah, but the technique is more important than the strength. Being the smartest and then work the hardest you can possibly do. But you need to first figure out what's smart. You're like, yeah, I can always go harder, but sometimes harder is not always better. 80% of the results come from 20% of effort.
Welcome back to Brand on Tour, the podcast about business, personal branding and sports. I'm Katrin.
I'm Lika.
Today we are going to explore what a Hall of Fame handball family, the first sponsored roundnet player in Europe and corporate AI adoption have in common. Our guest Jakub Popluhar cracked the secret for learning anything fast, and now he uses it to get companies to successfully use AI, from small and medium businesses all the way up to private equity CEOs. And today he's teaching us exactly that method live at Brand on Tour. Welcome, Jakub. Nice having you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Jakub. You have achieved such a high level at so many things that you've done. Floorball, handball, not spikeball, roundnet, I know. Diving, skydiving. You learned all of the skills, not from the childhood, but whenever you started that in life. What is the very first step that somebody should take when they decide to start something new seriously?
That's a great question. I would say I even have a framework that we can go a little bit more into later on, but it's really set a goal, right? But I don't mean, okay, I want to lose 10 kilos or I want to gain 4 kilos of muscles, but really, what do I want? Imagine it in a very clear detail. And then you just reverse engineer your way there, because the chances that someone has already done it before you are quite high. I mean, I thought I was special, then I did research, definitely not. And more often than not, someone has already achieved it in one way or another. And there's a lot you can learn from those people.
But it isn't really openly available on the internet, right? For example, if I wanted to say, I want to be the next Tony Robbins, where would I start?
So I think it is available, especially nowadays with the tools. And you could take the LLM, large language model, right? The AI straight away. Where would I start? But do you really want to compare yourself to Tony Robbins? Or even more important, what does it mean to be as good as Tony Robbins? Does it mean having hundreds of employees, many companies, billion-dollar turnover? So what does it mean would be my question. What do you mean by that?
Okay, I was more imagining somebody speaking in front of a lot of people and interacting with them live, making them see things that might have been holding them back in career, in personal life and branding, and helping them exactly in that moment.
That means what I'm hearing is speaking in front of people, interacting with audience. How big is the audience? What do you want to help them with? Right? And then once you have your set of questions and your answers, then you can go more into, okay, this is what I can do good, right? Because do you want to learn everything new, or do you want to channel your past experience or uniqueness? Because you don't really want to copy someone one-to-one. You want to get inspired and model them, I would argue. But you have your very specific thing. One thing would be Tony Robbins is a man, you're a woman, right? There is, again, difference. So I may be looking more for female speakers, as an example, to find someone who's very close to me, or my background, culture, sports, business. So then you can really find the right person to model. Not necessarily the best or the most known, but the right to you.
And were you modeling somebody when you decided to become the pro roundnet player, especially in such a not really established sports, a niche sport? And you achieved something that nobody has achieved before. You were the first athlete who was actually sponsored. How were you projecting that and modeling that?
This is a great question. I did have role models in Roundnet. They were 2 or 3 guys. There was the best team and the most known guy, who was individually the best player, but not the best team at the time. So I started asking myself question, okay, what are they doing? I looked and watched every YouTube video there was about Roundnet or Spikeball, all the championships. I kept looking games, but I had no idea what they were doing, right? It looked everything so easy. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to reach out to this guy and just ask him questions. And I know that they've been playing since 2014, 15. I started in first time 16, but really playing in 19. So they know something that I don't, first and foremost. And second was, okay, they're in the US. I'm in Europe. I don't have such a competitors. So what can I do right now, right here, to bring me closer to them? So I definitely had role models, and I modeled my game towards them more.
Take us back to your very first round ball tournament. How was it?
The very first one was a lot of fun. The funny thing about Roundnet, at the beginning, it's very difficult. Then after half an hour, or you get a gist of it, and then it's a lot of fun to play because you have these crazy rallies. And once you get really better and better, it's just less fun because it becomes more technical, more serving heavy. But I remember it was 2016 at the surfing championship in France. It was German academics surfing championship. And some guys just brought it over to the US and we started playing. And I thought, this is so much fun. We're playing 5-6 hours a day. And there was a tournament where unfortunately exited round of 32. That was one of the worst tournaments. Also the first one. And I hit a couple of rims I still remember. Still like, oh no, should have done better. Mm-hmm. And guys from Cologne won. And I thought, okay, these guys, they've been playing it, so they're probably good. But then live happened. Roundnet was not on top of my head. But once I returned, I was like, okay, these guys from Cologne, they know something that I don't. So let's talk to them, find them and ask them questions. And let's see what they're doing.
This is actually a really valuable advice. I think many people hold back, or they're like too proud to ask for help. And they try to figure out everything on their own and reinvent the wheel. But actually, it's just good faith to ask somebody for help. But I wonder how many people would actually be open to talking to you, to take their time to advise you on how to achieve your goals.
There were 2 big milestones in my Roundnet career, and I think we can then see how the framework happened. It was the first big official tournament, which happened in Munich in 2019. And my second game was against the former European champions from Cologne, right? And I was like, okay, European champions. I was a little bit like, okay, these guys know what to do. We lost 15-10, 15-8, so not a bad result, but I had no idea what was going on, right? So where should I go? Where should I run? How should I hit? They were everywhere. I'm like, wow. They ended up winning the tournament. And I remember talking to them and I asked, okay, how many years have you been playing this? They said 3 years. I said, okay, how many times do you practice? Once a week, 3 hours. So, okay, and play pickup once a week. Okay, good. And then I started reverse engineer that. What does it actually mean, one training session? Because usually at the beginning of the sport, and I think even nowadays, a lot of clubs or players are just playing pickup, just having a fun, play a little game. But then I actually went, okay, how many times I touch the ball? How many times I serve? I hit, I set. And it turned out it's only 7 hits on purpose in a game till 15. So, okay, that's 7 hits. That's not a lot. I can do that in 30 seconds. Yeah, if I know how to. And then I wrote down everything in Excel, did some math, and figured out if I practice 3-4 times a week, in 6 months, I'll be on their level, more or less. But I will still lose because there's so much more that they have done or things I don't know. And it really happened. 6 months later, we narrowly lost my team in extras in a very prestigious tournament in Prague. Game 3, my partner was also from US and very good. Not gonna lie, it definitely helped. When I look at the stats, I was like, oof, okay, I'm the one being carried, but no worries, I'm learning. And there was one. And second was I had the chance to spend 12 hours with the best player in the world in November 2019, Tyler Chisek. Because we made a tournament. I changed my entire US trip just to meet these guys that I texted them beforehand on Instagram. Yeah, I'll be there. They're, oh, the German guy. Nice. And then he said, yeah, I live close to New York. You can stop by. I was like, I will. Like, I'm warning you. I'm the guy who's going to stop by. We went to church together. I went to his church. I wanted to see what he eats, how he warms up. 12 hours. And I was writing notes. I still have the notes. I was taking videos of his form. And I remember I asked him, okay, what do you do for warm up? He said, yeah, we don't warm up. I was like, what do you mean? I mean, you play in the finals, you win all the tournaments. Yeah, for us, warm up is the group phase, the pool play. And I said, what if you're not sure if you advance to the playoffs? He looked at me and said, what do you mean? Yeah, I was like, oh, I have definitely different expectations, right? I'm fighting for survival. This guy is starting to hit hard in the semifinals. So I said, okay, I cannot take that mindset. I need to first make sure that I pass to the bracket and then learn from that. But I still do have those videos. And then I taught everyone in Munich, in Europe, all the techniques. This is how the best player does it. So let's go and go for it.
That's amazing. So it requires actually so much obsession and so much persistence, something that nobody would do. I thought I was like a very stubborn, persistent person, but I think I met my match.
But what was the framework you were using? Because you mentioned it twice already that you had a framework from day one.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through?
So I call it freaking spike. The 5 steps are set, study. Then we have pinpoint and get coached, install the environment, engineer for pressure. And I can go a little bit deeper to each of them if you like.
Please, please.
Set the goal, very specific. And I don't mean I want to be on a national team. That's a great goal, but I want to be the starting player in the national team. In Germany or in Raunet, you have 5 teams at the World Championship. So my goal was to be team 3 or 4 because I knew number 1 is way up. I cannot reach it in time. Number 2 could be, but I didn't want to have any discussions to be number 3 or 4. So very, very specific goal. And the more in detail, the better. Second point, study. Study the fundamentals and really find someone that is similar to you. I use basketball terminology, right? If you want to be a great basketball player, I'm probably not going to model my game after Shaquille O'Neal, who's 230 centimeters tall and 150 kilos. For me, ever since I was a kid, it was Allen Iverson. It was a small guy, short, explosive, right? So I was like, okay, that is someone I can model because it's more me. Then we have set, study, pinpoint. What is the 80-20% analysis first? Pareto, I think everyone in the business world knows about Pareto principle. Just a quick recap.
A recap for those who don't know.
It means that usually 80% of the results come from 20% of effort and vice versa. With the customers, 80% of your turnover comes from 20% of customers, and pain, the same thing. So 80% of pain comes from 20% of customers. Do you want them? That's the question you need to ask yourself, right? And then go and apply to the fundamentals. So what are those pro players doing that people are not seeing? I mean, you have the obvious things. Okay, they go and practice. But for example, in golf, right? Everyone wants to drive the big swing because it looks great for Instagram, or in scuba diving, right? But actually 40-50% of shots you take is putting. It's being on the green, the non-fascinating, non-flashy stuff, right? Then ask yourself, what are these players doing that everyone else is not? And for me, there was this moment when I hung out with the best player in the world back then, Preston from How to Raunet, in Prague at a tournament. And he would always have the spike ball in his hand, literally always. Before going to bed, we were walking through the city sightseeing. He would play with it. Hey, Jacob, catch. Yeah. And always play it. I was like, if he's doing it, he's the best in the world. So there's probably something to it. He was just getting the reps. He was getting the right reps all the time. So the big question is, where are the reps in your sport or towards, not sport, business, that really push you forward? And how can you then install them into your daily life? That's the next step. But even before installing the system, it is really about, at least for me, to get the coach, right? If you are starting something new, you have no idea, and you get all these standardized courses for language learning, for sports, because it's easy, it's scalable, and it does work. But if you really want to, in my opinion, achieve something great super fast, you have to go very far away from that. And now when I get coaching, I go with specific questions to the coach. This is what you're always doing. What is the difference between this guy and that guy? And it's this attitude. It has nothing to do with the sport itself. Right? I was like, oh, okay. And then you can also tell the coach, for example, I have a semi-professional sport background. I learn things motorically quite fast. So you don't have to talk to me 10 minutes about it. Just show me once and I'll be probably able to do it or twice. So you save time there. So get coach. And I believe it's the biggest cheat code. If you can model someone and get access to him or her, pay them. It's going to save you 1 year of time, 1 year of errors. And we all know that unlearning bad technique is much more complicated and difficult than learning a new one, right?
So you can apply this framework to anything in life.
Anything you want to learn very fast, not to be top 1%, because that is really where the nuances come into play, where you really have to drill specifics. I think Novak Djokovic said it, top 30 players in tennis, they're all the same. It's all here. They know how to hit the ball, they know how to serve, but do they hit the right ball at the right time? And that is then the ultimate skill. So I'm not talking about being absolute mastery, but really being maybe top 10, 15% in a very short period of time. Next step is I install the environment. Meaning if your environment, I think we all know this, but to do it consciously and on purpose, because many times we fall, we say in terms of if there's a lot of pressure and we're tired, we fall to the level of our systems, to the level of our training. And if your system is very stable, very high, meaning if you want to lose weight, don't buy sweets. It's very easy. Don't have them at home because you know you have the cravings. But then going to the grocery store and buying them, oh, okay, why? For me, it was having the rounded ball or all around my apartment, having the spike ball net ready. And all the pro players I know in rounded, they have the net in their apartment. Somehow they're serving, they're hitting the ball while working, while brushing the teeth. I would brush my teeth and I would play with the ball. There was no, because getting in the reps and good reps. So install the environment and use systems and not goals. And lastly, it's then we have keep the process, meaning I'm not focusing on the results, winning the tournament, getting to quarterfinals, or selling, selling my products, but I'm focusing on the process, meaning I can still lose a tournament, but I played an amazing tournament. I can lose a sale, but I did everything right. But there are things that maybe that person is divorcing right now. I don't know. Kid is sick. So it's not, I cannot influence that. But once I track that, then I'm on the path. And I'll take one example from basketball again. Or let me ask you, what do you think is the difference between a good shot or a bad shot and making a point?
A bad shot that doesn't make a point?
Yeah, so what would be let's say we have this triple team, Kobe Bryant is very known, but it's 3 people trying to defend him. He shoots and he makes the basket. Was it a good shot?
Yes.
Yeah, because he made the point,
He made
right?
the point.
So according to the criteria, yes. But what I didn't tell you, this is where context was missing. Also, when we work with AI, very important. There were 2 free teammates that he could have passed the ball to who would have an easy layup. So was it still a good shot?
Was it a good choice?
Yeah, the choice. Or a shot selection, right? So I can miss, but I've done everything right. I passed it to the open teammate. Okay, we missed. Or I get the very difficult shot, the fancy flash one, but those shots don't win games. Or also in business, those clients don't really bring all the majority of turnover, right? So this was for me one big mindset. Okay, I can lose a point, but still it was a good shot. Nice.
Yeah.
I was just unlucky.
Right. That's what when we play, I always try to tell myself, if we lose, there was still a good game. If it was a good game, then I'm not upset. But if it's a bad game and we lose, then I'm upset.
Karen, what is a good game or a bad game in this scenario?
A good game is when it's tied and we were really not making mistakes. We stayed with our tactic, and really the difference was just one or two small things that maybe the opponents did better, maybe saw something better, found a weakness in us. But sometimes when I used to have this a lot, now I don't have it. Like, I would make a bad shot, I would get defended, they would score over us. And then I would get fixated on proving that not with you, it was still before your time.
Lucky.
And then I would get fixated trying to prove that I can make that shot well. And I would end up trying to do the same thing like 5 times, getting defended every time because they're already like standing there, and I would not be seeing that just because I was so proud to prove that I can make that shot. Bad choice. Bad choice of what I was prioritizing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I would mentally, if you were my opponent, I would play this so much to get into your head, and I would be smiling so hard and like, okay, please hit this. But to finish off is, and you already said close game, is engineer for pressure situations. So you have your training, but do you really test yourself in tournament or in sales call situations? For me, it was exams at the university, right? So have I tried, was I under same circumstances? Meaning I would be probably nervous. It's in the morning, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to study in the evening because I need to bring the performance in the morning, right? When it comes to opponents, you don't know what they're going to do, but I have plans with my teammates. What do we do in case there is a close game? Which play will we do? Which will we default to? So we don't have to think when the pressure comes, so our body and training takes over. Because, and I felt many times, lost many close games, when I started thinking, okay, what kind of serve should I hit? Then I was like, no, this is stupid, Jacob. Just, you have this one serve, you just hit it. In this situation, you don't think. You focus on other things. And then it worked. It worked much better. So I planned for it, and I planned for plateau in learning, because after some point, like the trajectory of learning is not going to go like this all the time, even though most of us expect that, right? But it's going to go down, then maybe even low, and then up. And I learned this from my family that it's good, and celebrate if you are not improving anymore, because you are right on track, because you're thinking long term, not short term. And this was for me very useful in terms of mindset. When I was studying for many months to graduate from German universities, like, okay, I just need to keep pushing. And sometimes, okay, let's plan a rest and really plan it and stick with it. Because I think a lot of A-type personalities have that issue. Like, yeah, I can always go harder, but sometimes harder is not always better. And it's good to be smart about things, especially when we're thinking long-term, in my opinion.
And could you apply this framework in any business case, you think?
I think, I would say so. Let's try it out.
Let's apply it to this podcast.
Okay. So what is your ultimate goal with this podcast?
Well, I always have a role model, and I always try to have a very big role model, because I believe we have to set really big goals and rather miss those by a little bit than set average goals and then stay average. So let's say we want to make it as big as Doc, the Diary of a CEO, and get a full-time team and have amazing people coming to our podcast, teaching athletes, business people, have sponsors. That's the goal. Is it specific enough or not specific enough?
Now, let me ask you why.
It's very easy. When we started doing this, I didn't realize how passionate I will be about this. And it's not something that you can phrase it in a mission statement like, I want to make the world a better place. It's not anything like this. It's just something that you wake up and you feel excited about doing, connecting with more people, listening to what they have to learn and spreading that knowledge to others so that maybe they can learn things faster, they can apply it in their business and indeed have better results and have better lives. But it's not really that. It's just, for me, it's just an excitement of all of these opportunities that come with it.
Mm-hmm. I find that excitement, like motivation, comes and goes. Therefore, I'm always trying to look for why am I doing something, because I know I'm gonna hit those plateaus and people, yeah, you know, it's okay. You've already achieved this much, or you're on this level. Why is it not enough for you? But then once I know why am I doing it, then it's much easier. In this case, I would say, okay, what is the dream guest that you would like to have on a podcast? So very specific, one person.
We
Who would
actually
be?
have a few on our list, but I would say, to me personally, two of them would be like when we stay with sports is Misty May and Kerry Walsh, who used to be one of the biggest beach volleyball players in history, I would say. But there's quite a few more when it comes to business, but it differentiates quite a lot. Like, for instance, having, like, there's a few actually in the business sector, which would be
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, if we think about it, if we are like really thinking big, I would love to talk with people who have achieved the top, like having Steve Bartlett here or Gary Vee or these kind of people, because I look up to everything that they do myself personally. But if I am thinking about like really dreams, I never had, when we were starting, a dream guest. I rather had dream location. So I told Catherine, I want to record in the middle of the Formula One track with, for example, Toto Wolff or Max Verstappen, because I admire how persistent and consistent and hardworking he is, for example. So this was my thing, the dream location. Another thing was center court at Wimbledon.
Okay.
And another thing is doing a whole podcast season in LA 2028. So it's more about places than people. People, there's so many amazing people. It will be hard for me to choose.
Let's stay with the volleyballer, right? For example, I would start deconstructing, okay, what kind of podcast has he already been on? What are types of podcasts? Because you will find that maybe it was not always mainstream, it was maybe a little one, local one. And then I would start crafting my pitch. Okay, what are some of the guests that he likes or people he respects, maybe are his friends, and get them on first, as an example.
I think I would just straight reach out to them. Like, I would not do some research around other podcasts because I know that we can deliver, and it actually worked out previously. So just reaching out and just approaching people on a very human level that was successful so far.
And I think you just made a very important point. I saw it in a reel. Unfortunately, Instagram is deleted, but sometimes I dip in and go, oh no. And 1 hour later, okay, delete it again. Is that, as there was a business advice, it's not that complicated. Exactly, just reach out to a person, right? With Gary Vee, maybe it's going to work, but chances are rather not, because he gets hundreds such messages, potentially, a day. But, and I learned this from Tim Ferriss, reach out not for the number one, reach out for number 3, or for a couple of years ago, you cannot get number 1. And then you just work your way up, and obviously delivering a great product. But for me, there was the same thing with Ronnie. How can I make this player come to Europe so we can learn from him? And how can I make them play with me? Right? And I played then a couple of years later with Preston Bias, which is a dream come true. I still get goosebumps. It was amazing. And when I organized my first edition of the training camp, I have Americans coming in, and I was literally like Florentino Perez looking for a star place in the world, and text him and like, okay, let's make it a game. Who can I make to come here? And without paying them. There was another like challenge or a factor, because I could not afford to pay them. So I had to sell them on the vision of you will be admired by the others, which works for one person. For the other, it's about the vibes and you're going to go and party. For a third person, it's culture things in Europe, right, when we're talking about Americans. So really individually seeing what motivates this person and what I can offer to him or to her to come and do what I want, right? And it's not only I win, they lose, but it should be win-win. Plus, usually there's a third party involved also. So, and I think if you do the thinking and you did the outreach that way, it works more often than not. Because you literally showed you did your homework.
But at some point there is, or in the beginning, especially when you are just starting out, and that's what you said, it has to be a win-win. But in the beginning, they will be feeling like they're doing you a favor. What can you do so you can get coached, so that you can learn from the top athletes, but so that they don't feel like they're doing you a favor, or even if they feel that like that they still do it?
Ask them for their opinion, number one, because most people like to give their opinion on things and talk about themselves. And then you slowly build up, you can start a relationship a little bit, because I knew I have nothing to offer to Tyler when he plays pickup with me in New York. But I could offer him a story. This crazy German guy came to my house and stayed with me for 12 hours and learned from me. It was good for ego, right? So it was not apple for apple, but something completely else. And I believe most people have something to offer. And it doesn't have to be transactional all the time, because sometimes people just want to do nice things for other people. If it doesn't cost them much, maybe just their time, vibes, why not?
So let's get into the mindset thing that I asked already. You said that when you're already on the high level, when we use your framework to get to high level, what is then the thing that gets you to the very, very top?
In rounded or in any of these sports, I've never been on the very, very top. So full disclosure there. And I knew I could get there potentially in rounded, but the price to pay for it was too high. So I calculated I would really have to train for 2 more years with a stable partner. I would not be able to travel that much, do my other hobbies, and really invest everything. And I just thought for myself, it's not worth it for me at this stage of my life. Because in order to be, I think, world class or very good, you have to sacrifice a lot. There's no way of going around. You can still do a lot and not be successful because you are not doing the right thing or the most efficient thing. But I saw it so many times while growing up, since my father was a national coach in handball, uncle, and they would always talk about the players at home. This player is super talent, but nothing. After the highs, like let's say under 18, maybe 1 or 2 years in the women's team, and that's it. Or men's, because the mindset was wrong. And it would happen all over again, all the time. Parties, alcohol, big ego. And then I was, okay, who is actually in the national team in esport? I say, yeah, those who work the hardest. The talent is not the most important thing. And I mean, literature varies, right? 20, 30%. And then you have to have genes, sure, for sports, for basketball, volleyball. If you're 150 centimeters tall, probably not going to be the best volleyball player. Could be. You could be an outlier. But just put in the work and you'll be better than the majority. And of course, you need luck.
So is it better to be the hardest or the smartest worker?
I would say being the smartest and then work the hardest you can possibly do. But you need to first figure out what's smart. And if you don't know, if you cannot define it and you don't have a good coach, as a child, as a youth player, I don't want to say I had a bad coach. He was doing the best he could, but he was just not very experienced, and I could have direct comparison within my family. I grew up around coaches, but he tried really his best. But it was okay. I cannot proceed to the next level under this person, right? And I had to switch clubs to play more, to get into the national team. But I had help, and if you don't have help, now you have the role models online. You can talk to the AI, ask, be your coach, but be very careful because it can get very tricky, right? And it's a funny thing. When I studied in Munich, I had 3-4 jobs while studying because my parents couldn't help support my full life as a student coming from Slovakia. And I made more money than my both parents combined job with summer jobs or like student jobs in Munich. And there was this guy who said, I love working with Slovak people. I was like, why? Because you always find an easier way to do this. Because you're not only just doing it, but you're like, okay, why are you doing this way? You can just their way, and it's just easier and you get to home earlier. And I was like, yes, actually very true. I always try to look for a loophole, for a shortcut, but then you have to do the work. But it's this mental exercise, okay, we're doing this way, but is it really the right way? And now with AI changing everything in such a strong pace, we really need to reevaluate, in my opinion, is what we're doing in our company. Okay, the things we've been doing for 50 years, do they still apply today or not? What have we learned that we can really use And now with the AI, because if we magnify the wrong thing, it's not going to help. But if we find that one good thing or great thing, then I think it can be really great.
So do you use AI as your personal coach?
Not really. I use it for research. I do have an agent that overlooks my goals and has a North Star and evaluates the things I'm doing, if I'm coming closer to the goal or not. Because sometimes when I'm so in the tunnel, I don't realize that, and it takes time to really zoom out. If you don't have an outsider or someone externally helping you or telling you straight in your face, no, you're not doing the right thing, or think about it this way. So I use it to challenge my thinking and then also look at the data. I do have those years of my role models and I read a lot of books. So I do ask myself in this area, what would Arnold do? Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of my great role models.
Yeah, mine too.
And then you can, and I actually met him, which is an absolutely crazy story.
Wow.
But I don't know, goosebumps moment, yeah. Because never ever thought that I thought that would happen. It's like, what would Arnold do in this situation? And then I would think about it. But now you can literally ask the AI because there's so much information about these people. And then, can I apply it? Yes, no. Okay, this is bad, but it's interesting. Let's try it.
I'm sure you've read the book Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And remember in the end, in the last chapter, there's a invisible counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So I have created something for myself like this. I have a few pictures of the people who are in my consulate, and Arnold is one of those people. And I also asked that to myself as well. But if I wanted that actually to turn this into an agent, how would I proceed with this? Can you actually tell us a bit more specifically, maybe technically, how could somebody set something up like that?
Let's say the council. So you have your list of 5 people. Who would be there for you, Katrin, if you had a council? Maybe a role model.
Bob Proctor?
Bob Proctor.
Bob
But Bob Proctor isn't like a business. He's a coach, but he's not like my role model.
Anyone who would help you take a decision. It doesn't have to be a business coach. So in mine, I have Niki Lauda, for example. I have Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have Amy Porterfield, because she was a huge inspiration to me when I started learning online marketing.
Niki Lauda is on your board.
Yeah.
Why? Tell us.
fuck?
I'm curious because I know of him, but which specific thing? Because this is, I believe, a lot of people struggle. Or I have to then emulate this person, a role model. No, just take the little bit. Can be only
Exactly.
5% that this person, maybe even a bad person, right, did very well and applied for the right thing, for the good thing.
You know, I'm not gonna tell you that I read the book and I learned so much about his biography. I watched the movie,
Still works.
So did I?
and there in that movie, how was it called? I don't remember. Speed Race? No, where it was about him and his rival, and they showed these two opposites. How his rival, I don't remember the name, was doing it for the fame, and once he achieved that goal, that's it. He went on partying, drinking, and that's it. And Niki Lauda, that was like his life, and he continued doing it, continuing, and then developed into other industry. So for me, he's just an epitome of consistent work. Consistent, like head down and do your thing. So this is what I think about when I think about Niki Lauda. When I think about Arnold Schwarzenegger, I watched a documentary about him, and there were images of where he would go to the gym every single day and he would like put lines of how many squats he did. And I'm thinking of myself, okay, how many my squats in my business did I do today?
Yeah. How
And
many
I-
reps?
Exactly. Yeah, the same thing. And then I'm like, okay, if I want to be the best at personal branding, content creation, how many content pieces I read or published today? How many brands did I study today? And then I put my own invisible marks in my head.
And I actually started putting even visible in the documents. And I use it for sports and also for the AI trainings when I lead the workshops. For sports round it, didn't matter who was at the net the first couple of years. I knew this person didn't touch the ball more times than I did. I just knew it and I radiated And they started to doubt. I was like, I'm not doubting because I know I've done it much more times than you did and better. So I'm going to win. And even if I lose, then my team was going to lose. Well, I still know I've put in the work. So I have nothing to regret. And in the AI coaching, first time when I went to actual workshops, not only about AI, but and seminars, I was like, this is so boring. And I was like, okay, what are these people telling me? Like from, I'm here, you're there, I'm the expert. And they just told me theory. And then I realized I work as a teacher for many, many years. I perform every day 6-7 hours in front of a crowd of teenagers that really don't want to be there. I have to motivate them, sell them the things I'm saying in English or in PE, doesn't matter. And every bad move I make, they call it out, right? If I have something on my mouth, they will say it, right? And then I realized, then bunch of like professionals is like, please, easy. Teenagers gonna eat you alive. Those so for me, it's like, I got in the reps. I stood in front of the crowd so many times. So for me, that's my natural inhabitant. And I understand the trainers who know they are very well literate in their product, let's say, or in the technical side, and see it with AI as well. But they don't know how to explain this and how to teach it to someone. So someone without a technical background would actually understand it. And this brings me to my university, Technical University of Munich. We had this lecture. Isn't it funny that sometimes in life you have these like super random moments that influence you and you don't know how or when, but then you're just like, yeah, sure. And you just save it. Okay, this is the truth. And the professor asked, would you like to learn 3 throws in basketball from an average player who's a coach or from an NBA player? And I raised my hand. I said, from the average one, not from the NBA. I said, why? Because if it's Shaquille O'Neal who doesn't know how to shoot 3 throws, probably not the best coach, right? And I said, exactly. So it doesn't always have to be the best player, the star, IT software developer to be able to teach you the biggest name. Because teaching and knowing stuff, for me, are 2 very different things.
And so can we get shortly back to the AI agent that you created? How does one create such agent for themselves?
Nowadays, you have multiple tools, Codex from ChatGPT or Claude Code from Anthropic. I use Claude. And you can even download templates of basic research agents. And you just send out the research agent, tell them, my role model is Arnold Schwarzenegger, find everything you know about him, about his mindset, about his struggles, strong suits, about things that people don't know about him but influenced him in the past. And the agent goes to the internet and brings you those here, a couple of pages. Can be more, can be less. And then you start talking to this. Start talking to the document. And you say, okay, if you were Arnold, what would you do? It reads the document. Based on this, I would suggest this and that. But it's then more about prompting. But it's very simple. Once again, you know what is the goal. Because, okay, if I want to learn about the person, do they have social media? Can I go straight to their content? And I can learn directly from them. Yeah. Right? I cannot afford the masterclass for 10,000 euros, but they have a lot of free content. And 98% they teach also in the masterclass.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's basically reverse engineering again. And how can it keep track of what you're doing and tell you if you're on track?
You mean the agent?
The agent.
You need to tell him to keep you updated to why did you make the decision, and really ask him like you would ask a student who you really want to teach something. For example, in math, you have a very complicated math problem and you just don't want the solution, right? In school, they teach the kids not, okay, you have the correct answer, but how did you come to the correct answer? Same with AI agent. How did you come to this answer? Why? And then it explains to you, and then you can see the reasoning. And sometimes the reason is because I thought that was what you wanted to hear. More often than that's the case. My agents are prompted in a way they need to tell me the truth. And not only you need to tell me the truth, but I said, if you tell me you don't know something, I will be very happy. And it's going to make me happy because they are prompted from these companies to make you feel good and make you feel happy. So, okay, if you admit your mistake, I'll be happy. And it's working quite well.
And so in what applications in life do you have AI agents?
Oof, okay, how much time do we have?
Okay, so many?
Yeah, quite some areas. So I have a health agent who knows my blood work, all the fitness that I'm doing, all the sports, has my entire Garmin history from the past 4 years, evaluates my VO2 max, my heart rate, and gives me suggestions for workouts. I have set longevity goals. So not I want to run a marathon, but I want to be able to run or hike 25 kilometers without the warm-up tomorrow and not die. And then, okay, this is the way you need to train. That's a very specific goals. I even create for fun fashion agent, but I don't think it's working. But I just learn from the big brands, luxury brands, and learn yourself what are the good combinations that people are wearing. So, for example, the coloring. You should only have one dominant piece of clothing on you. I had no idea, right? Or with my face, someone who has a different skin tone is not going to work. I don't have hair. So first my agent recommended me an outfit, but then I actually said, okay, I'm bald, I have no hair, here's a picture of me. So, okay, so it's not going to work. This car is not going to work. You need to do this and that, right? And I was like, okay, interesting. So you can ask for advice, but again, take it with pinch of salt and argue. Because most people, they just prompt something, they get something, okay, that's great. But what I teach is, imagine what was a lasso, right? So you have this big rope, this big hook, and if you want to go and catch a bull or anything great, but the loop is quite wide, right? And then you need to tighten the loop. And by tightening the loop is you give the agent or the LM more context. You know, yes, this is correct. No, this is wrong. So every time, every iteration, you're tightening, which is work, right? It takes some time. And in the end, you really get what you want in usually much shorter period of time. At the beginning, again, mindset thing, it takes much longer. But over time, it becomes automatic and you know how to prompt. You don't think about it and you focus on other things. Again, short-term versus long-term. Oh, that's too difficult. I can write the report myself. It's like, yes, you can. And you don't need so much time. But if you do 10 of them, I bet you next week I'll be doing it faster and better.
This is an amazing opportunity that we have right now in our life with the AI that basically can coach us in achieving whatever goal in our life we have. We don't need to even pay anyone. We can develop our own coach based on the best coaches and athletes, experts out there. And it all starts with the goal, like knowing what you want, just like you said. But not everyone is using it the right way to their competitive advantage in business or in sports. And it seems like it would be easy for everyone to suddenly become very successful because they could have a coach in their pocket. But I still hear so many excuses why you cannot do it, especially among women, always explaining, no, I need to go do another course, I need to go do another certificate, while you can just have your own personal coach. Why do people still not utilizing it to the full potential? And what are the main differences between men as you, who is like super, super focused on all the goals and achieving them, and others who are not?
Well, first of all, I'm not always super focused. I drift a lot. It's just trying to get back on the track. And it's also took me some time to learn it's okay to drift, but then just come back. And this is why I asked for the why and so on. With the AI and coaching, yes, but again, I will be very careful because I don't think AI can really substitute a great coach or even a good coach because it doesn't see you, it wants to please you. And from my experience, it's very difficult to ask the right questions. And I learned from there of a CEO what questions I didn't ask that I should have. And you can ask it your LM, and it's going to bring up some great answers. But again, it's difficult. When it comes to the difference between men and women now in the business world, or maybe a little bit in sports, I coached hundreds of women, maybe overall throughout my rounded career, thousands of people in person, online. And it's more that they feel, again, generally speaking, because everyone's very different, they need to be super prepared. Whereas guys just, okay, let's just go and do it. Let's see what happens. And from the business perspective, I'm now working with a company who has 50 years experience of executive search and headhunting, recruiting. And they said women do not generally apply for the job if they don't fulfill at least 90% of the job description. Whereas men, they have people who work in a storage house applying for CFO jobs. They just don't care. Right? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're not going to answer. And funnily enough, apparently, and we are now doing some internal research, the things the job ad says they want usually is covered by 60-70% by the applicant. Maximum. It's very rarely it's 100% because most of the times the companies even don't know what they want. So what kind of people you want to employ, right? And that is the job of the recruiter to find that out first. So I would say just go, apply. You see what happens. But apply maybe with a goal like in the industry that you like or you have something to offer. And if not, then ask, yeah, okay, I've never worked in pharma, but I've done all these other things. So what skills are transferable that I can say and leverage as my strong suit? As a teacher, I work with kids. So, okay, I used to, but I know how to perform under pressure. And if I can hook the audience, the teenagers, the boardroom, it's probably going to be all right, as an example. And I'm not setting the ways of the corporate ladder. Other example, right? So you can really leverage your skills, and this is where good coaching comes, the questions from a professional. As a business coach, which you definitely know, I'm probably mansplaining much better than me. And then you just go with it.
And in sports, you mentioned you've been coaching women a lot. There are definite differences. You also observe them in business. What are they? And do we need to try to change them or not? Because I am actually genuinely interested. I see men moving in business and entrepreneurship much faster. What I realized from today's talk is that when you decided to be the best, one of the best in RoundNet, you went and pursued those people and learned from them something I think a woman normally would not do. I cannot imagine myself doing this. Do we need to learn this? How should we improve our habits and behaviors? Or is there their own way for everyone?
I believe it comes down to your goals and how they are perceived externally and like from the society and from you internally. Because I've seen, and I also had in family, very talented players who could have been the best in the world, but decided, no, I want to start a family. It's more important to me. And society may judge them as a failure, whereas I think that's stupid, right? Everyone should do what they feel like doing. And if we try to push people in a position they don't want to be, it can also backfire. But it's okay if you don't have those goals. If you do, however, I think as a woman you have very unfair advantage because the doors, and this has been proved over and over again, open more lightly in cold outreach. And we tested in a company. I sent a couple of messages, my colleague with good pictures and good messages. Is it right that they open more? I don't know. I'm just saying the result that I observed. But if they want to pursue it, I'm like, let's go. And I think they have all the tools available. Of course, there are a lot of prejudices based on the culture and how it's going. So they are really swimming upstream and they don't even know, I guess. But for me, working with women was, and we hear it a lot, yeah, it's a safe environment, but really, what is a safe environment? Because I can say it, but do the women really feel safe with me, with the trainer, coach, or my participants in the workshop? Are they allowed to make mistakes? If they say something is not accurate, am I going to, oh no, you're stupid? Or no, that's not the case, but great question. And for me, this was in Round specifically, I realized we need to train somewhere where no other people are because they're very self-aware. Our players care a lot what other people think of them more than the guys generally. And I think men do care a lot too, probably much more than they care to admit, just this fake bravado. And I promised the women in 6 weeks, you do this course with us, with me, with the club, and you'll be able to play with anyone in the park. And we practiced and we did the drills. We didn't play maybe once or twice. We did the drills and they brought girlfriends with them. And most of them didn't become great around the players, but they found friends, new friendships, right? And that is something that was really like fulfills me again. I get goosebumps because I run these events. So it's awesome to bring people together and really seeing that in their eyes, like, oh, I made it. So of course, because they say, I cannot do it. The guys are too strong. I was like, yeah, but the technique is more important than the strength. And same in business. Ah, true. Right? And then they felt safe to tell me what's going on, that they are feeling very much insecure about this, or they're hitting form because they look stupid. I was like, you don't look stupid. The person who has no idea looks stupid, yeah? Who doesn't try and thinks they know, yeah? That's an idiot. And they would laugh because I would make fun of the other guys on purpose. And yeah, so I think creating the safe environment is okay to make mistakes and really live it. That's what every corporation, I think, says. But is it real reality? Could you disagree with the CEO or manager and not have any consequences? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we are allowed to go through failure. I mean, to me, it feels natural, but I know there's many women who don't feel like that. That doubt a lot and self-doubt a lot.
Yes, and frankly, that was a very good question. In a corporate, would we really say disagree with the CEO? Catherine, you have more experience.
I would.
And how would you would? Ah.
How do they take it?
They actually like it because most people just say yes to them, and that's the issue.
Exactly.
That's the main issue. That's why they have external consultants. Yeah.
And same with AI. It says yes to all of you say. Just try and push it.
That's why I don't use AI.
None at all.
I can show you my AI. My participants are laughing because my AI tells me go to sleep or focus on this thing. There's a stupid idea. And I was just once, final story to finish off. I was showing, we had one-on-one coaching, AI coaching. And I said, look, my AI is really trained to disagree with me. And it knows the projects I'm running. And I said, okay, let's give it a test. I want to open a hotel for dogs, right? A business idea. This could be big. It's going to be awesome. And Claude just said, no, this is stupid. You have 3 other things going on right now. Finish that. I'm not going to help you. Bye.
Wow, you trained it to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, you need his AI.
Maybe. I give it a try.
Who knows?
Well, thanks for the open conversation today for the Brand on Tour podcast. Absolutely enjoyed it, and there's many things to take away, especially for you as an AI user. Junkie. Yeah.
I thought I was so advanced with my skills and a few scheduled tasks, and I was like, I have everything figured out. Today I learned that I don't have everything figured out.
There's much to do.
Nobody
today.
has.
All right, thanks to you in the audience for tuning in. See you next time with us, Brands on Tour. Bye.
Bye.